Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
There is a greater awareness, and there's an urgency to be able to face the next storm whenever it comes.
At one point in time, pintails were rivaled mallards in the prairie pothole region with respect to number of breeding birds.
I enjoy doing the work that I do. My father was a programmer, and so I followed in his footsteps.
If you stop to think about it, migration is one of the real mysteries of nature.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchase of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $40 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year.
Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.
North American waterfowl flourish in a diversity of species. Their health is often determined by their populations, which in part are related to the natural ebb and flow of weather conditions, growing in numbers during years of heavy precipitation and declining in the drier ones. But for the past several years, one species in particular, the northern pintail duck, has broken ranks with tradition by not rebounding as other species have during seemingly favorable conditions. Wildlife biologists, land managers, and conservationists alike are concerned about the pintail and what might be happening to its habitat. They want to understand why this particular species is losing its battle for recovery.
At one point in time, pintails were rivaled mallards in the prairie pothole region with respect to number of breeding birds. Back in the 50s, you were looking at somewhere, between 8 and 10 million breeding pairs. When the drought of the 60s hit, those numbers declined just like all duck species did. When habitat conditions increased in the 70s, all ducks rebounded, including the pintails. The 80s came along, another drought hit the prairie pothole region, all ducks suffered. That's just nature, that those things happen. But when in the mid-90s, when water returned to the prairie pothole region, a lot of ducks responded marvelously. You see mallards, gadwall had record numbers, but pintails just didn't respond.
Although its population has declined, the northern pintail is still considered the most widely distributed of all ducks. Its migratory path has been documented from the northwestern banks of Alaska to the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Given their name for the long black center tail feathers, the pintail is a medium-sized dabbling duck that feeds off grains like rice, seeds from marsh vegetation, and aquatic invertebrates. It's a hardy duck with a tendency to live a long life, more so than other species. All the more concern for wildlife biologists.
Habitat needs to be focused on because habitat is the reason why pintail numbers have declined. You've seen landscape changes in the prairie pothole region from the northern parts of the U.S., North Dakota, South Dakota, all the way up into southern Canada. Changes in agricultural practices, all these things are pieces of the puzzle that have resulted in declines in pintail numbers.
Ty Anderson, a graduate student in wildlife management at Texas A&M University in Kingsville, is studying the pintail's different habitats by using radio telemetry. Ty and fellow students, along with Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist David Loweprice, must first attract the pintails to a free dinner of rice.
There are several landowners that are adjacent to this property that farm rice, and rice seems to be a favored food of the pintail.
The goal will be to capture several pintail hens and outfit them with small radio transmitters in order to track them on their return journey to the north.
Typically, pintails will arrive on the Texas coast sometime in early October. We start to see large groups come in a little bit later than that. Middle toe, 46.75.
Ty and the team will spend the next several hours banding, recording physical measurements, and equipping each pintail with its own radio transmitter. A nylon harness is carefully fitted on the duck, which is secured to the transmitter with weather-resistant glue. Paper is inserted under the unit to prevent any excess glue from coming in contact with any part of the duck's body. Once the transmitters are secured and activated, the pintails are ready to return to the wild.
Each bird has an individual frequency that we can dial into on the receiver. We radio tagged 157 female pintails, and we're trying to get habitat use and movements along the Texas mid-coast.
The pintail hens are tracked until they return to migration, but not all of the birds will be sending back the preferred radio signal.
Each radio transmitter is set to give 60 pulses a minute. Once bird is on mortality, or have an idea that that bird might be dead, that rate will double. It's fairly noticeable. We're tracking, and you hear one that's on mortality, she sticks out from the rest of the crowd. So as soon as we hear a mortality, we try to go out and recover that bird. This is kind of typical of what we've seen so far with mortalities. When we go out to recover one of these birds that appear to have died, typically we're not finding any remains or carcass, so kind of leaves it up in the air as to what type of predator got to this hen.
Here, in the rainwater basin of Nebraska, part of the prairie pothole region, wildlife biologists traverse geographic borders in hopes of further documenting potential habitat challenges for the pintail.
I am actually from Canada, Saskatchewan, and I have a great deal of waterfowl experience, mostly telemetry. What we are collecting is daily locations on every bird that we find in the rainwater basin area. Here it's mostly movement. It's where they're feeding in the short term, whether it's days or weeks that they spend as they pass through. So it's critical that we collect as much data on as many birds as we can to see what they're doing, what is important here, what habitat, what wetlands, so that we can sustain them and so they have a good staging area before they head up north to breed.
What we're doing here is we're tracking birds that have been marked in Texas. The birds were marked in Texas last fall, and that gives us a lot of advantages here. Now we can get good estimated residency times and survival rates here without having the effect of handling the bird immediately before and after the time of capture. There's a lot of speculation on winter survival problems for pintails. They're an early nester. They have some problems in the breeding areas. Personally, I'm a duck hunter, and I like to be around a lot of waterfowl, and I sure would hate to see pintails go down the tubes in the next few years because we're not doing everything we can do to manage for them as well as we can.
It's been said that the pintail may be the canary of the prairies. Just like the miners use canaries to keep themselves out of trouble, the pintail may be an indicator species of what's going along in the prairie pothole region of the U.S. and Canada. We think that there's problems because other species have rebounded, but they don't nest in necessarily the same place that pintails do. And so pintails may be an indicator of a bigger problem down the road. And through our research, through our management, we need to try to do everything we can to ensure that the pintails do recover, which is a sign of a healthy ecosystem.
Texas has its fair share of severe weather, droughts, floods, tornadoes. But nothing matches a hurricane for its impact on people and sometimes on destiny.
In the late 19th century, hurricanes determined much of the history of the Texas Gulf Coast. This was especially true for two towns, Indianola and Galveston, both of which by the 1870s had emerged as important Texas seaports.
Indianola's rise was short-lived. Two hurricanes struck the town, one in 1875 and another in 1886. The town never recovered. Up the coast, Galveston continued to grow, competing with Houston for dominance on the coast. The rivalry didn't last long.
In September of 1900, one of the worst hurricanes ever to strike the Texas coast fell on Galveston. High winds, estimated in some cases as strong as 135 to 140 miles an hour, struck the island. Horrible devastation was worked by a 15-foot wall of water that struck the city. We don't know for sure how many people died in the great storm of 1900. Estimates range between 6,000 to 12,000. Most historians say, for reasons of convenient reckoning, that 8,000 people died on Galveston Island that September day. The 1900 hurricane at Galveston ranks today still as the worst natural disaster ever to strike in the United States.
Over the past century, many storms have come through the area. One of the worst was the most recent. On September 13, 2008, Hurricane Ike made landfall in Galveston, spreading destruction 120 miles in every direction. Hurricane Ike caused 195 deaths and $38 billion in damage. Two state parks were hit especially hard, Searim State Park and Galveston Island State Park.
Galveston Island and Searim both were turned inside out. Where I'm standing now was once part of our day use area. There were shelters behind me. Just everything at the park was literally destroyed. It was heartbreaking.
Searim State Park was closed for 5 years after being hit by two hurricanes, but reopened in July of 2010.
We're back one more time. We're going to give it another shot, and we're going to be rebuilding the park. We're just starting right now in the planning stages, but we do have the park open to the public. We're going to do the best we can and build it better, but I don't think there's anything that's completely bulletproof to some of the storms that might come in.
We are going to be hit by a hurricane again at some point, and part of our role is to not only protect our resources, but we also want to be a steward of the taxpayers' investment. So moving forward, we want to develop facilities that are high quality, resistant to hurricanes, and when we do have another one blow through, we don't want to be totally wiped out where we're losing millions of dollars.
Damage to buildings and property was extensive. Wildlife habitat also suffered. The J.D. Murphy Wildlife Management Area near Port Arthur was no exception.
We lost approximately 800 acres of emergent marsh on the Murphy area alone as a result of the surge and scour impacts of that hurricane. Shortly thereafter, our coastal fisheries folks in Dickinson were successful in getting a grant for $1.5 million for habitat restoration on the Murphy area. We'll be working in the Salt Bayou unit. It's where most of our tidal wetland loss have occurred. We've been able to take on a benefactor who has a bounty of dredge material, soils, that they need a place to put. And in working together, we've found a source of materials that's virtually free to the people of the state.
These dredged soils are the foundation for a new emergent marsh.
The end of our project, we're projecting somewhere between 12 and 1,500 acres of restored impacts.
Hurricane Ike also impacted wildlife, especially alligators. Since the storm, their population is recovering.
This year's been really good, compared to last year. In this particular area here, 640 acres, we had 0 nests. This year we got 62, so it's getting back to normal. We expect next year to be back to normal.
One unseen casualty of Hurricane Ike was underwater. The oyster reefs of Galveston Bay, which normally provide 70 to 80% of the oysters marketed in Texas. Oysters are filter feeders, and a single oyster can cleanse 50 gallons of water a day. After Hurricane Ike, 60% of the oysters in the bay were lost. In East Bay, 80% were destroyed. It's here where efforts to restore the reefs are underway.
After Hurricane Ike, there was a whole sediment layer and mud layer that was just put on all these reefs out here. And so by bringing back some material, then hopefully we can get it back to the way it once was.
Tons of river rock will serve as the foundation for the restoration of this reef.
When oysters spawn, their larvae will attach to this. This we found is very good material for that. We're putting down about 20 acres out in this site. We put it down about 5 inches of material on the bay bottom.
The latest in sonar technology will help biologists monitor the progress of restoration sites.
The bay's never been mapped with side-scan sonar before, so this will be a new and very powerful tool for assessing the condition of the oyster reefs and perhaps other habitats in the bay. We plan to use it to collect baseline information on how much oyster reef is out there and what sort of condition it's in.
This is the image of the bay bottom that we're going over right now. On the port side, there's not much reef at all, oyster reef, but on the starboard side, this is all oyster reef. You can see it kind of coming in through there as well.
The reefs are still vulnerable, like everything on the Gulf Coast, as Hurricane Ike reminded us.
There is a greater awareness, and there's an urgency to pay more attention to what's going on in the coast. And there's been a significant amount of understanding shared to come together and be able to face the next storm, whenever it comes, if it comes in 2 years or 40 years. It'll come. We live on the Gulf Coast.
Hi there. I was just looking at my Texas Coastal Birding Trail map. Did you know that the Texas coast is one of the hot spots for birding in the whole country? Every year, hundreds of millions of birds migrate through Texas. And if you stop to think about it, migration is one of the real mysteries of nature. For example, the ruby-throated hummingbird may fly 600 miles, 26 hours non-stop across the Gulf of Mexico and end up in the same place each year. How do they stay on course and manage such long flights? Some studies have shown that hummingbirds and hawks travel by day using the sun, rivers, mountain ranges, and coastlines to guide them. Songbirds migrate by night, using the stars and the Earth's magnetic field as a compass. Now, how birds sense this magnetism is still a mystery. Possibly it's the tiny mineral crystals in their heads that help them navigate. Making these long journeys is dangerous. Less than half the birds that start out make it back. So birds have developed different adaptations to help them navigate. Some birds wait for tailwinds and select the best altitude to help them fly. Hawks hop thermals to save energy. They fly in an upward spiral on warm wind tunnels called thermals. Once at the top, they glide to the next thermal. Geese fly in a V-shape to reduce wind resistance on the flock. Songbirds depend on cooler evening temperatures to prevent overheating. And hummingbirds almost double their weight with stores of fat to provide energy for their long flight. Migrating birds depend on good habitat all along the way to rest and eat. People from all over the world gather at these prime birdwatching areas. It's a keen reminder that we must maintain good habitat, especially wetlands, for both resident and migrating birds. We still have a lot to learn about the mystery of bird migration. Hey, maybe calling someone a bird brain is actually a compliment.
In the United States, you can find 842 listings for the name Danny Lewis, including athletes, famous actors, and even a dog. But this Danny Lewis is our very own, and he stands out from the rest of the crowd.
I enjoy doing the work that I do. My father was a programmer, and so I followed in his footsteps, and I've always enjoyed doing that from the very beginning. I always knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Danny works for the Inland Fisheries Division of Texas Parks and Wildlife. He's a computer guru, a copacetic coder, empirically endowed with a propensity for numbers.
I do tend to count things. I'm working with programs, which I enjoy doing. I work with numbers and data, which I enjoy doing. Right now I have a pedometer right here that can tell me how many steps I've taken today.
And to the people around him, he is invaluable.
This is that same error message that I get every time.
Sometimes when he'll fix their computer, he'll leave a little surprise present for them. When they open their computer, the home page may be a picture of him, reaching out to give them a hug or something like that, and everybody just gets a kick out of it.
All right, there you go. That should take care of it for now.
A few years ago, Danny joined his peers from around the country as part of a group called the Organization of Fish and Wildlife Information Managers. He quickly rose up the ranks and is now serving as its president.
I think it's more powerful when you know that Danny is naturally introverted and how he overcame that natural inclination to break free and lead a national organization. And I'm so proud of him for being able to do that.
It was found in southern Texas.
Danny has also established himself as a prolific podcaster.
The relative frequencies of these two.
But he's best known as a computer programmer, supporting 9 application programs containing over 100,000 lines of code, including an intricate database for the department's Kills and Spills team. It's one of the most advanced of its kind, and Danny built it from scratch.
We need to have programming that is straightforward and easy to understand, and that can provide us with the answers that we need very rapidly. And Danny is the guy that writes these programs.
I drive to work each day down highways that are lined with trees. I come to an office that's just beautiful, work with people that are working together, and look out my window, I can see trees. I mean, it's fun to come to work. I actually enjoy coming to work and doing what I do.
So even though he may share his name with 841 other people, this Danny Lewis is one of a kind.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchase of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $40 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year.
Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.